Hey everybody, how are you? This is Eric Broadus again back with another video. And on this video, I'm going to be interviewing a mom of a Marine. I'm allowing my guest to introduce herself. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Faith Victorio. I am a Marine mama
Huh?
from Montclair, New Jersey, and proud Marine mom, and be here today with Eric, sharing some of my experiences as a Marine mom.
All right, all right. So there you have it. My special guest is Faith Victorio, and so what I want to start off, asking you, tell me a little bit, about your son. Now I do understand you do have two kids. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Tell me about them. Tell us about them.
So my oldest is 25 years old, and she is works in staffing, and she's also a public speaker, and she is in New York. And then my son, who is a Marine, he's 23 years old and has just returned from overseas, and yes, he is just made sergeant, so E5 in the Marines. So yes.
Good deal. Good deal. Good deal. So how long has your matter of fact, what's your son's full name?
Gabriel Victorio.
Okay. Okay. Gabe. Okay. All right. And how long has he been in the Marines?
He's been in for 4 years now. Yeah, 4 years and 2 months.
Okay. And what tour of duties has he served? I know you mentioned that he'd been overseas as well. So what tour of duty? Where's he been stationed at?
And Guantanamo Bay, Gitmo, and also he's been in Japan for a few years, and then he also was in Korea for a very short time.
Okay. Oh wow, wow. So, obviously, I guess he must like it if he's already done 4 years. So, how long is his enlistment or commitment to the Marine Corps?
Well, he just re-upped, and so he is going to be, re-upping basically means that he made an initial 4-year commitment and now has re-upped for an additional 4 more years. So he will reevaluate that at the end of this second 4-year commitment.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Has he shared with you what he actually likes most about being a Marine?
The brotherhood, the camaraderie, the discipline, the the growth, pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. The people that have poured into him has definitely pushed him beyond his limits at times. At the time it was very uncomfortable, but because of that he has definitely succeeded, and so I'm very grateful that this son of mine that wouldn't make his bed at first and would sometimes not saying he didn't have any directions. He was always a good He was always a good kid and played sports and everything, but very polished. I would say that the Marines has definitely turned him into a man. He went in as a little boy and he came out a man for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do have to admit, as I myself did serve in the military, and I had a lot of had a lot of joint command, so I worked directly with every branch of service, directly as colleagues. And I have to be honest, I will say that out of all the branches that I had the pleasure of serving with, I will say, in my opinion, that the Marines to me were the most professional.
Nice.
Yes, I have to commend them on that. They were the most professional. Outstanding. Yeah. So Well, what are some of the organizations that you're a part of as a Marine mom?
Okay, so I joined I'd actually gone to a couple of meetings. It was the Blue Star Moms. There is a local chapter in my area, and now that I'll be moving, I'm actually going to join up with another local branch. So yes, there's chapters everywhere.
Okay. Okay. And what are some of the things that that the moms and that you guys do? What do you do?
Oh, so there's packing parties. I do a lot of community outreach for the soldiers that are overseas, just supporting them while they're away from their families, sending them packages just to let them know that they care, providing community support for the veterans, and mainly for active military men and women, just to let them know that they're supported by the moms. So it's not just for Marine moms, it's also for Navy moms, Army moms, for all branches of the service.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and guys, I definitely want to say this. For those of you that have served in the military or that are serving in the military, and if you ever been deployed before, definitely the support of family or either friends or just people even sending you like a care package or a card, especially when you're deployed. It does make a huge difference. As I myself, I've been deployed 6 times to the Middle East. I've had 6 tour duties, and a lot of times, sometimes those tours can be kind of lengthy, and they can be a bit drawn out. And over time, as servicemen and women, we can get a bit, worn down, on those deployments and out in the battlefield. And so it does help, and even if it's not your blood relative, just to know that someone out there is thinking enough of you just to, to send you something, and just let you know that you cared about. It does help us, push through and make it through those deployments. It makes the ride, much smoother. Yeah. Okay. So now your son Gabe, give us a little bit about his background, pre-Marine.
Pre-Marine, he played soccer, he played football, and then he played baseball all the way from T-ball up to varsity baseball. So I would say that prior to going into the Marines, he had the teamwork. He knew more about teamwork, and I would definitely say that helped him. It helped his transition was much smoother because he was used to teamwork. He was used to being told what to do. So it was fun, I'm sure. With baseball, with the Marines, it was a lot different, but definitely, discipline is needed in the Marines or in any branch of service. But he went pretty much right out of high school. He when he got out of high school, he was on what they call what is it called? What do they call it?
ROTC maybe?
Yeah, no, not ROTC, but delayed entry is what it was called.
Delayed enlistment.
Yeah. So what delayed entry or delayed enlistment or delayed entry was, right after high school there was a lot of testing that needed to be done, and normally they like to get them in right after high school, and the reason why they do that is so that they can transition right into the military. And in his case, he had some physical tests that needed to be taken care of, and he, along with some other new recruits, had to wait a little bit. So he graduated in June and didn't get in until I'd say the following March. Actually, yeah, it was a little while. So yeah, he was 17 when he graduated. No, so actually it was a year and a half. But he stayed disciplined, and he was able to stay on the straight and narrow until he got in, and to my delight, because I didn't want him to get caught up in anything that may deter him from his goal of going into the military.
Okay. 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 So what did he say were some of his going through the basic, there's always going to be some form of a challenge. Initially entering basic, has he ever discussed with you any challenges he faced?
Yeah, he said it was because he was pretty physically fit. There are the challenges going up the Crucible. Basically, it's a time when they don't eat, they don't sleep. They're basically pushed beyond their natural limits. So it was a physical challenge, climbing up hills, not eating, not sleeping, working well under pressure, basically. And so he said physically it was not hard because he had that discipline from being in sports for basically most of his life. The challenge was the mental, when someone's screaming at you and telling you things you don't want to hear. And I would say that basically trying to find your weakness, or trying to find something to to try to break him down and see how far see how tough he was. And he succeeded. It was for, in his case, more of a mental challenge than it was a physical challenge.
Okay. Okay. If you guys hear that, when I talk about subjects on my military channel, I talked about made videos pertaining to each branches of service basic training, and I always said that nothing is as easy as it seems. And the reason why, when I share these things, concerning the military, because I want individuals that may be considering serving in the armed forces to be as best prepared as they can. Granted, if you go in physically in shape, that'll definitely help you out, but the biggest part of military basic training in any branch of service, believe it or not, most of it is going to be mental. Because what the instructors are, what they're looking for, they're looking to put you in situations in scenarios to see how you think and how you function mentally. And it's not just you as an individual. What they're doing, they're working on you as a team. And in any branch of service, the key word again is team. Team is the core. If 99% make it, but one don't, you all fail. And so it doesn't matter how strong you are individually. You have to ensure that your comrades make it through. The motto basically is no man left behind. So it's definitely trying when you have to you making cut the test or whatever the challenge is for yourself, but you got to figure out how to get these other individuals in right through you, so y'all can make it through and get that rites of passage. Okay, yeah. So so he goes on after boot camp. Was he direct duty assignment where he went straight to his first duty station, or did he go to some type of additional training? No,
he was immediately shipped down to San Diego to the MCRD. That's where they do their boot camp in San Diego, and every military mom can probably remember saying goodbye to their son after they had their final swearing in. It was an emotional time for me because I knew that I wasn't going to see him for 13 weeks. And, just hoping and praying that he would, he could endure all the challenges that were set before him. As soon as he got to San Diego, I get a phone call, and it's a very brief phone call, and I'm sure every military mom or dad can relate. Gets a call. I've made it safely. I'll be basically the gist of it was, I made it safely. I'll be sending you a letter. Thank you and have a good day. Or it's very scripted, and I was just like, even though I knew it was scripted, I waited. I had my cell phone. I wasn't waiting by the telephone like the old phones, but definitely waiting for his call, and it was a relief to get that first call and also to get that first letter. I can't tell you how it warmed my heart to get the first letter, knowing that he was doing well in boot camp. And so it was 13 weeks down in San Diego, and then after he did graduate, he did end up going to infantry school in Pendleton. So from what I understand, like I said, I have not done all the research, but from what I understand, not everyone goes to infantry school, but he did go to infantry school and did very, very well. So.
Well, now from what I do understand, I mean, this is going across the board now for actually quite a few years with all branches of service. They have kind of lined up to where your primary job is to be a junior rifleman first.
Yes.
And then after that, your MOS or your AFC, I forgot what the Navy was called, but whatever your specialty skill is, but I understand with the Marines, your primary job is to be a rifleman first, and then whatever your particular trade or skill set is.
A marksman, yes. And then, just by being a military mom there, my mom was in the Army, and my stepdad was also in the Army, and Gabe's dad was also a Marine, so I've always been surrounded by military family and friends, and so, but I didn't know all the words and what this meant or what that meant. I had, been in it, but more so as a mom. I didn't know what an MOS was.
Acronyms, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know the acronyms. Basically, that was his title of his job assignment, and to my delight, he was put into admin, and he wanted to be in infantry, and actually, he's my only son, so I was delighted to find that he was going to be an administrator because it was a nice, safe job.
Okay. Now, for you guys that don't know what MOS is, it's basically military occupational specialty. And for those that are in the Air Force, it's AFSC, Air Force Specialty Code. I forgot what it is for the Navy, or the Coast Guard, but the Army and Marines use MOS, Air Force uses, Air Force Specialty Code. And, Navy and Coast Guard, are similar, but basically means the same thing, but these basically are, just an acronym, for codes of what servicemen and women, what their specific jobs are. Some MOSs and AFCs can be, maybe anything from mechanics to pilots, and even to infantry. But it's just basically a skill set in which these men and women that serve in the armed forces receive specialized training, for what their specific job. Now, let me explain this. Just because you may have a specialty as administrative in any branch of service, it does not mean that you will not be called and placed on the front lines. In all branches of service, all individuals, they have some form of training with weapons and whatever it is that they're going to need in a combat zone. And sometimes what the military will do, if they have a need for, say, a deployment or a certain amount of bodies to fill, for a unit or a battalion, whatever you want to call it, they can pull from different career fields. And what they'll do, they'll assemble all these different individuals as a team, and they will send them through certain types of training before they hit the combat zone. So do not think by any stretch of the imagination that Uncle Sam cannot pull you from any career field and attach you or assign you to infantry or either security forces, all of that, all of the above has happened. And with the way the armed forces is now, all branches of service, they can operate together, meaning that you can have airmen and Navy assigned with Marine units. Army can be assigned with Navy. So I myself served on deployments like that when I was doing an Army mission. So they changed the training. And that includes foreign forces also, NATO forces also. So they put us all together because in a combat zone, you never know who you're going to be working with, and you could be wind up in a combat zone with your allies from different branches of service or even foreign services. So we all have to have a baseline of similar training and similar, whatever the signals are, so that we know how to operate together as a team in these specific zones. Now, Faith, what I do want to ask you, and obviously, as I would think that all parents, there's a good and a potential bad side with having your children serving in the armed forces. So I want to start with, what would you say are some of the potential fears that you worried about upon your son joining the Marines or serving in the Marines?
Okay. So when my son decided to sign up, he was 17, so he needed parental consent. So both his father and I had to basically sign off and say, almost like not a permission slip, but we had to give our consent for him to join the military. And I have to say that it was one of the hardest decisions that I had made, because although there are many benefits and being a military serviceman or woman, there's also the potential of the serviceman or woman being injured or losing their life. So that was the hardest part for me when I do remember signing the paperwork and crying. I knew that as a mother that I had nurtured my son as much as I could, that I had gone as far as I could go as a mother. I knew that he needed to be surrounded by a group of men that would actually help carry out the job to take him into full manhood. And I knew that the Marines would do just that, and they have. So I had to basically release him, and that was hard for me as a mother, because all mothers, I would say, nurture and care for their children, and they may have that fear, but I wanted to see him grow. I didn't want to see him be stagnant or not live to his full potential. So I had to put all my feelings aside, and this is something that he was really passionate about. This is not something that he was forced into doing. This is something that he wanted, and I had to support it and not stand in the way of his decision. I had to allow him to be a man and put my motherly fears and concerns aside and trust that the Marines would take good care of him.
Okay.
And that they've done. And I'm very spoken with his staff sergeants and spoken with the personnel, and they had really assured me. But I would say that the Blue Star moms and the support groups and other military parents who know exactly what I was going through, they are of great support, because they understand what it's like not to see their child for years on end. They know what it's like to see their child go overseas, and it's not an easy road. I would say that for military parents, our prayers are just a little bit longer and maybe a little bit stronger than other parents. I know that most parents pray for their children's safety and for their well-being, but I would say more so as a military mom.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, give us the what are the positives that you were happy about him going? What are the positive side?
The positive sides were he was more confident. He was confident in going when he was in sports, but there was something about being in the military, especially I remember graduation, the way that he stood upright with his shoulders back, his chest out. He opened the doors. He was, you know, I'm not going to say like he was sent to etiquette school, but, or to, it wasn't like that, but it was more like he had really been polished. They got a hold of him and made sure that he knew the rules, and I would say that he was pushed beyond his comfort zone. And just like any of us, when we're pushed beyond our comfort zone, that's when our growth occurs. And so I definitely watched the transformation of my son going from a little boy to a man, and it was a beautiful thing. And I knew that he had it in him. And as I mentioned before, I had gone to my limit as a parent, because moms just know how to nurture. There's no way that I could teach him how to be a man, and the Marines, like I said, they did that. Even with all his family members, both male and female, it was just nice to know that that I could trust that the military would take care of him. The other thing that was very pleasing was to watch him with his with the other Marines, the brotherhood. That's a brotherhood like no other. It was very refreshing to see how they, really cared for one another, and how they were really growing. And it was just so nice to see that, he wasn't alone, that he had brothers that he could count on, that he could depend on. And that was very refreshing, because I, as a mom, knowing that he's overseas, worry about him feeling alone, but I was comforted in knowing that he had his brothers who were watching his back, and he there. So that was very rewarding.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. So, do you know anything about any of the perks or the benefits that he has by serving in the Corps?
Yes. So one of the benefits, he has his own insurance. He has a job. He's employed, and I'm happy as a mom.
That's always a good thing.
I'm glad in a day and age where employment can be, not always stable. The military does provide that stability, that financial stability, and I'm just very pleased that he's been in for over 4 years, and he is employed, and he has not just the personal growth or the financial growth. He also the professional growth. There's also the personal growth. When he became a sergeant, that that was very rewarding. It was not easy. It was not given to him by any means. He had to work very, very hard for that. So each time he was promoted, it was a huge celebration. I know that he was proud of himself, and as a mother, I couldn't be any prouder to know that he has overcome so many challenges. And so when he decides to go back to school, there's benefits for him to go back to school. When he decides to purchase a home, there's benefits for home purchases, the veterans benefits. And so from my perspective, I think it's a win-win situation. He is definitely has opportunities. And then the opportunity to travel, to see other parts of the world, to experience other cultures that he may not have experienced as a civilian. So I'm really very pleased that he's able to see the world, and that's a really good benefit.
Okay, okay. Guys, I'm gonna expound a little bit on what she said in terms of some of the benefits by being in the military. One of them is they definitely offer you can have an early retirement after 20 years, and in the retirement plan that they have now in the armed forces, they don't not only have the base retirement plan, but they also have a 401k portion included into that, which is the thrift savings plan. So anyone that knows about TSP or the 401k, basically you have to put so much in, and what'll happen, the employer, will match it up to a certain point. I believe it may be, I think up to maybe 5 or maybe 10%. Don't quote me on that, for the military guys, but I think it may be up to 5 to 10%. Now, as far as the retirement, should they do, say, 20 years in? After 20, I believe after 20 you retire with 50% of whatever your base pay was, and whatever your high 3. So whatever the highest grade that you made it to, and you have to, I believe you have to hold it for about, I think maybe 22 months or something like that, 22, 24 months. In certain grades between I think E5 and E6 now for I think E7 it might be 24 or 26, and then when you start hitting the grades of E8 and E9 to sergeant major or master gunnery sergeant, I believe for your high 3 on that one it may be a total of 3 years, but don't quote me on that. I haven't looked in the regs for that, but that's pretty much what the military retirement pay plan is made up of today. Also, as Faith expounded, some of the benefits obviously has life insurance, servicemen's group life insurance, where the coverage is goes in increments, I believe, of like 200,000, and if you pay like $8 a month, and it goes up to 400,000 if you're paying $16 a month. There's obviously about medical and dental for the servicemen, and also if they have dependents, for the dependents. You also have commissary privileges where they can shop BX or on Navy exchange, base exchange privileges where you can go shopping for different items. So there's different perks. Education, while serving in the armed forces, you have what's known as tuition assistance, where the government will pay 100% for your classes, but I believe there may be a percentage that the service member must pay for their books. Now, upon the service member getting out and becoming a veteran, then they have the GI Bill, which they can go to school on, and should there be any injuries or ratings with the Veterans Administration, then they may convert to vocational